Greetings, my friends. I want to thank you all for subscribing. I want to thank all of my channel members for supporting me in this endeavor to save pop culture. And if you are not subscribed, please consider supporting this channel. We need you. Thank you. Greetings, my friends. I am Dicta Van Doomcock, the future ruler of Earth, broadcasting from my hidden base at the center of the Earth. And yesterday I started seeing some bold claims on X and in articles in the mainstream media flatly stating Snow White is the lowest rated movie on IMDb, while others refine that claim and state that Snow White is the lowest rated Disney movie on IMDb ever. Either one is a damning indictment of a worthless piece of uninspired, soulless, joyless filmmaking by a committee that's either incompetent or just plain hates the original Snow White. There's no doubt about it, Snow White is artistically and financially a failure of staggering proportions that, according to recent estimates, may wind up losing Disney as much as $200 million. The lack of taste, quality, and talent here is beyond debate. Trust me, I sat through this pile of shit so I know what I'm talking about. But let's limit this investigation to one question and submit that question to X's resident AI, Grok. I asked Grok, is Snow White Disney's lowest rated movie on IMDb? And here is what Grok said in reply, quote, as of March 26, 2025, Disney's live-action Snow White is indeed one of the lowest-rated movies associated with Disney on IMDb, with a current user score hovering around 1.8 to 2.2 out of 10. Well, actually, today it's down to 1.7, but I digress. Depending on the exact moment and number of reviews, ranging from 39,000 to 79,000 based on various reports. This rating reflects significant review bombing, with a high proportion of one-star reviews, up to 78% at one point, driven by controversy surrounding its production, casting, and perceived woke changes to the classic tale. However, determining if it is the lowest-rated Disney movie on IMDb requires context.
Well, let's hear the context.
Exactly, let's hear the context, because it is a little puzzling. The 2025 Snow White is a live-action remake produced by Walt Disney Pictures, and its IMDb score is notably lower than other Disney live-action remakes like Pinocchio at 5 out of 10 or Mulan at 5.8 out of 10. Among Disney's animated classics from Walt Disney Animation Studios, even less favorably received films like The Black Cauldron score higher at 6.3 out of 10, and Home on the Range sits at 5.4 out of 10.
Grok is a little strange in that it seems to be arguing that it's a matter of interpretation as to whether Snow White is the worstest of them all. But then every example it cites is higher rated. So it seems to be hemming and hawing, then conceding everything is better rated than Snow White.
Yes, I don't know what they mean by less favorably received films like The Black Cauldron, which is, again, got a 6.3 out of 10. Well, that means it wasn't less favorably received, it was more favorably received. It's very strange. Well, of course, the problem is Grok is still learning, so there's some quirkiness to its findings and how it expresses itself, but it's still very impressive. For example, Grok continues here with some puzzling data. Quote, there are, however, other Disney-related titles with lower ratings. For example, Dragon Ball Evolution, distributed by 20th Century Fox, a Disney subsidiary after the 2019 acquisition, holds a 2.5 out of 10. Well, that's still not as bad as 1.7 out of 10. Though it's not a Disney-branded film. Direct-to-video efforts like The Lion King 1.5 scores 6.5 out of 10, still well above Snow White. Among live-action remakes, Snow White appears to undercut all others, with Dumbo at 6.3 out of 10 being one of the lower-rated comparables, unquote.
To quote Rachel Zegler, weird. Maybe Grok is saying those movies are lower rated on Rotten Tomatoes but higher rated on IMDb?
No idea, Harvey. But then Grok pretty much confirms the conclusion I suspected all along. Quote, the challenge lies in defining Disney movie. If we limit it to Walt Disney Pictures theatrical releases, Snow White likely takes the crown as the lowest rated due to its unprecedented 1.8 to 2.2 range, a result amplified by review bombing rather than a balanced critical consensus. Contrast its 44% on Rotten Tomatoes. Well, Rotten Tomato has a hell of a lot of shills on the site, so I mean, let's be real about that. No other major Disney theatrical film, animated or live action, dips this low on IMDb. Thus, while not definitively the lowest across all Disney-affiliated content, e.g. obscure TV movies or Fox leftovers, it stands out as the lowest rated among Disney's core cinematic offerings on IMDb as of now, unquote, even though it consistently insists that it's 1.8, when really it's rated right now at 1.7.
And there it is, the old review bomb accusation. It's Hollywood's reflex response to bad reviews. Well, obviously, it's review bombing, isn't it? It's never simply that the movie stinks and people are reacting to the horrible stink of the movie. It's this review bombing bullshit every time. Do you think this disaster is a result of review bombing, Doomcock?
Oh, I do not, Harvey Cthulhu. Sure, in any user comments these days, there will be a proportion of angry trolls who haven't even seen the movie, who crap on it just to crap on it. That's an inescapable fact of life in our modern social media age. The question is, do these individuals have enough numbers and impact to make a significant difference? My feeling is no. They may lower the score a bit, and yet, in my opinion, they're pretty much canceled out by all the shills and phonies and wokies and bots who leave 5-star reviews and also haven't seen it. In my experience, it seems both factors cancel out, as there are as many idiot wokies devoting to spreading positive propaganda out there as there are snarling trolls who just want to watch the world burn. That said, a mere glance at IMDb reveals many of the critics there are coherent and articulate, not the product of bots or trolls, but obviously real people who are disappointed by this piece of crap. Here is just a sample. Poisoned apples all round. As always, whenever there's a negative hype around a movie, my mindset is always prove them wrong. Give it a chance. It's diabolical, honestly. I can't understand how so much money and so much time has gone into this. The final result is cringeworthy. It is an absolute shocker. I am stumped to find any positives. It looks and feels so artificial, the sets, the animals. As for the dwarves themselves, I have no words to express my feelings there. The biggest catastrophe, not what I was expecting if I'm honest, the worst offender, Gal Gadot. She looks sensational, but her performance, she's gonna scoop some unwanted awards, it's fair to say. What I wasn't expecting was just how poor the costumes would look on screen. Snow White just doesn't translate very well. The hairstyle, what were they thinking? Disney, what on earth have you done? A hollow and confusing reimagining. From the very beginning, Snow White feels completely off. The film's attempt to modernize the classic tale results in an awkward, uninspired mess that lacks charm, direction, and even basic storytelling coherence. Let's start with Snow White herself. Her character is not only unlikable, but also deeply confusing. Her facial expressions when she sings are so bizarre that it's impossible to tell if she's angry, happy, or sad. She shifts between emotions every 2 seconds like she's glitching. Instead of embodying a graceful and kind-hearted princess, she comes across as bossy and frustrating, making it difficult to root for her at all. So in conclusion, no Virginia, there is no review bombing. There's just a lot of people who hated this movie. Sure, some trolls give it a low rating just to be dickish, some shills give it a high rating just to support the agenda, but those pretty much cancel each other out. So you're left with disappointed and puzzled customers wondering how the hell Disney has fallen so hard, so fast. And lest anyone get bent out of shape over the injustice of the negative reviews, here's a positive one that makes an interesting point. Honestly, why is this even called Snow White? I really tried to ignore everything and just enjoy this movie. I tried. Really, I did. I tried to ignore the fact that Rachel isn't, well, white. And Snow White should probably be, white as snow. It's literally in the name. I tried to ignore that Rachel has been awful in real life, bad-mouthing the original Disney movie, and even Gal Gadot, who ironically plays the evil queen. I tried to ignore the absolute absurdity of Gal Gadot being envious of Rachel. I mean, Of what exactly? I tried to ignore the CGI dwarves when there are amazing short actors who could have played the roles. I tried to ignore the love story that didn't exist because apparently Snow White doesn't need a prince. But about halfway through, I was actively rooting for the apple. The best thing Disney managed to do here was making Gal Gadot look ugly for one scene. Now that was truly impressive CGI. It's just too many things to ignore. Yes, they added some painfully forgettable songs that are full of auto-tune. Yes, there was almost nothing new in this movie except for the changes that actively ruined it. Gal Gadot is an okay actress, and honestly, she's the only reason this isn't a 0 out of 10. At some point, you just have to ask, why even call it Snow White anymore? And after all that, this reviewer gave Snow White 7 out of 10 stars. Well, go figure. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry. Ha 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 ha.